Jay and Brittany Hagee with Alon Planning Partners are back on the show with us this morning. The last time they were here, we talked about how money can be a real source of conflict in a relationship. We've all lived it. They've lived it too.
Yep.
But this time you're coming with kind of a five-step how-to. Have the conversation,
checklist,
right?
Yeah.
How do you talk about money?
Well, it's really about the core conversations that every couple should be having. If you are married and you have said, hey, we're in this thing together, these are 5 conversations around money that you should be pressing into no matter where you are in life,
Right.
no matter what phase or stage you're in. These are things you should be talking about. A few of them are kind of givens. For example, the first one, how are we spending? How are we saving? What does that look like? And are we on the same page? Do we have some guidelines around what that looks like? For example, you know, we have an agreement where we can spend up to a certain dollar amount before having a conversation around it, right? So basic things like that. That's really the first one.
How do you handle income and spending? How do you handle who pays the bills? How do you handle it's just those kind of conversations that, you know, one spouse is more drawn to, I'm a financial mind, I want to handle these kind of things, and the other spouse may be like, sure, I'll let you handle those things, right?
Yeah.
So how you handle income and spending is really where it starts. That's the common core. But as you move along, how do you handle risk?
Yeah.
How do you handle not just risk tolerance in your portfolio, but risk in what you invest in general, right? And so you have to come into agreement of, here's how much risk not only I feel comfortable with, but to move we talked about vision casting last time. And to move our vision forward, how much risk is appropriate for us to take in order to get to the vision and goal that we have?
Okay, so
we have to talk through that.
So the first one was how's our spending?
That's right.
The second one is how is our risk?
How's our risk?
Okay.
Yep.
What does our risk look like? What levels of risk are we going to take?
Because there's always going to be a spender, there's always going to be a saver, there's always going to be a risk taker, and there's always going to be a risk avoider.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, typically, you both may be risk takers, but there's going to be one that leans in a little bit harder than the other, right? I'm not saying that neither are risk takers, but in our relationship, I'm the spender, she's the saver, I'm the risk taker, she's more conservative than I am. It's not that she's not willing to take risk, it's just that I see an opportunity and I'm ready to jump, right? And so we have to have a conversation to, okay, I have to have a list of questions that I ask myself, how it fits our goals, how it makes our vision move forward. Is it something that is going to propel us forward, or is it something that may cause calamity? And
that also makes you not be impulsive.
Back? That's right. That's
It
right.
directs your decisions, which is the third thing.
Now you're informed.
Yes, exactly. It gives you a filter through which to make all these other decisions.
That's
so
right.
what's the third
So that's
thing?
3, setting the clear goals. What is the vision that we have?
I'm taking notes.
Establishing that, right? So having conversations around what are we actually working towards? Why is it important that we save? Why? What is it that we're actually working towards? Is it for our children's college or grandkids' education or a myriad of things it could be for? But what is the vision in the picture?
Okay.
That's the third.
Okay, and then fourth, not if, but when. What happens when something goes wrong?
This is a big
Oh,
one.
you mean like when the compressor on my refrigerator went out, and then the dishwasher went out, and then
That is true.
Yeah.
Those things happen. It's the world.
unexpecteds.
But not only
last
that,
week at my house.
but what happens when the risk that was taken fails? Right?
Yes.
Because not every risk you take is going to succeed. So there has to be a common denominator. And if we haven't had that conversation to it fits our vision, it fits our goals, we're moving forward in this, taking the appropriate risk, even if it fails, we're together. Right? Now, if I'm taking that risk without her, and she says, you're on your own on this risk, right? I have to know I have to brunt the pain of that too, right? But if we're having that conversation together, and it's like when things go bad, because we all hope for the best, but we prepare for the worst, right? So if things go bad in the risk that I take, we're in it together, right? Because we had this conversation previously.
Well,
Okay.
and but even deeper than that.
Look at them holding hands.
What if? I'm patting his leg. What if? Yeah, I'm like, but what if something happens to one of us? I mean, this is the hard part of this.
That's a big one.
I understand that these conversations are really uncomfortable, especially for people who have been through trauma and difficult situations before. But this is a conversation I want to encourage folks to have, because if something were to happen to one of us in the couple, I want to know that the other is taken care of.
That's right.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you can't have the answer be, but it's not.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because it
You
will.
gotta press
That's the
into.
wishful thinking,
Yeah,
and that's not
this
real.
is your encouragement to press into the uncomfortable conversations,
Mm-hmm.
because it is much better to have those conversations and make those plans on the front side and never have to face it than to have to make it on the back side when you have no options.
Yeah.
And you're backed into a corner and you're emotionally charged
Right.
and grieving or struggling and having to make financial
And there's probably some
decisions.
pride in me in this, but like I also want to be a provider and a protector. So like for Brittany, even though she can handle her own, she's a fighter.
Right.
But like if something happens to me, which men typically are
Go first.
predeceasing
Yeah,
the
we live
ladies,
longer.
I want to make sure she has nothing to worry about
Right,
from a
and
financial
if she's
standpoint.
digging in on you saying, no, Jay, we've got to save,
Mm-hmm.
once you reach that step 4 to understand her point of what happens if
That's
something
right.
happens to you, it's her
Exactly.
fear.
That's
Right.
correct.
It's not her trying to control. Okay, what's number
Exactly.
5?
The fifth one is legacy. What
Okay.
kind of legacy do we want to leave? And of course, that includes finances, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do we want to leave in an inheritance? But also in values.
Mm-hmm.
What do we want to
Wisdom,
leave
values,
to our family?
yeah.
What's most important to us? And again, this gives us the filter to which to make financial decisions and all of that to see
Right.
if we are working towards that vision.
And that's where at my house, you as the spender would
Mm-hmm.
get the gold star, because my husband would say that part of the legacy is memories.
Yeah,
So sometimes
yeah.
you do have to
I know.
spend.
You spend to get those memories, right? And so we walk,
Yep.
whether you're an individual investor or a couple, when you come in, these are the things we're talking about. Not just numbers on a data spreadsheet or a chart. We're talking about
life
real life
experiences.
experiences and
Yeah.
what happens if. And so we create a values-based plan for you
I
as well.
think everybody watching just felt like y'all had been eavesdropping on
Yeah.
them as well. We've all
Yeah.
had those conversations.
Yes.
You can further it with them at Alon Planning Partners. They're doing these 1-minute financial tips, and I love their little tagline because they say your money is worth more than a minute.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Give them a call. They'll be happy to help you. Love you guys.